Hello, myself Sunil R. Here basically we are discussing one topic, that is city creation. In city creation we are discussing about the things basically, that was how basically the city are basically getting created and who basically have the authority to create the city. In this world basically only one group basically that have the authority, that is World Health Organization, and one is World Bank basically, right? They only basically have the authority to create the city, and the countries few people basically who are controlling the city. This group basically, if they gives the authority, they gives the permission, then only you can create the city basically. And that basically city creation required one presentation basically. That is the product creation basically, which World Bank only basically can do, because they only have the authority, and they are connected with the World Health Organization, and they give the data, right, that this all basically contains in the city. For that basically the nuclear power plant basically, that is the nuclear power company basically, they have the data of the city creation. That is basically connected with the glacier basically, that is the next topic basically. That is the in the format of ice basically, which is basically controlled by set of nuclear power company basically. They basically the glacier basically has designed the in that way basically, that if the tapman basically is going to increase at certain level basically, then the glacier is going to blast. That is, glacier is going to break. If glacier is going to break, then basically it is going to merge with the sea, and it's going to increase the water level basically, and that might basically end. If the glacier is very big basically, then basically lots of city basically also comes into the picture basically. Picture means the city will go underwater basically, but that basically type of thing basically never happen. Why? Because the nuclear power company knows that basically each and every glacier basically which is created, and what is the tapman of that glacier basically, and according to that only the entire creation has done basically. So it's very dangerous basically to create one city also basically. That's why very big officers basically are allocated here basically to create the city basically. It's not basically so easy basically. That's why basically the health organization basically comes into the picture. World Health Organization is there, World Nuclear Power Plant basically is there, then basically the World Bank basically for monetary purpose are there basically. So they all basically become one, and then basically they do the plan basically. For example, corona disease basically came, right? So this group has done the plan basically, that corona city has to create it, which is going to generate the energy basically, and the energy basically will be in the form of corona disease basically, corona disease medicine basically. So medicine basically can be corona malaria, corona chikungunya, corona heart attack, corona head cancer, corona brain cancer. Brain cancer contain each and everything basically, head, eye, ear, everything basically, that medicine basically. So each and everything basically data contains in the city basically. Reason you can't say basically which type of people basically are going to stay in the city, because you can't restrict the people basically. That's why basically the in visa system basically, if one person is basically having HIV AIDS, right, so he's not going to get the visa. Why? He will get the visit visa basically, but he will not get the work permit basically, right? For example, he is applying for H1B visa, so he is not going to get. Why? Because he is having the HIV/AIDS disease basically. So HIV/AIDS people basically are restricted basically. That is basically the visa he is not going to get. Why? Because it's restricted basically. So like this basically in within the India basically, if one person want to shift to one city to another, then basically he can easily shift. But the data basically are leaked basically, that this person basically is having this all disease, because the city energy basically is generating, and it's generating to the environment basically. So most of people basically who is having the disease basically, either they basically kills that person, or basically they do the disease treatment basically. That currently basically you can't kill the corona people basically, because its whole world is basically having the corona. So you can't basically kill the whole world basically. So you have to basically do the treatment basically. There is no option basically. Otherwise basically world will end basically. That basically is the World Health Organization basically who created the Corona city basically, and that Corona city is basically going to generate Corona energy basically, and that Corona energy basically is containing Corona leg medicine, Corona heart medicine, Corona head medicine, Corona hand medicine, Corona heart medicine, Corona eye medicine. So each and every basically body parts basically merged with the Corona blood cells, and that treatment basically you have to do. That is no, there is no option basically. Otherwise basically universe group only basically going to shift, transfer the world basically, sorry, going to shift the world in that direction basically. Their beliefs basically the whole world is going to end basically. That's why the whenever the city gets creates, that time basically the World Health Organization and the World Bank basically comes into the picture. This is the basically main reason basically. Otherwise basically due to one city basically, it might possible that entire world will get it into trouble basically. Sometime basically it might possible that due to Earth planet basically, entire universe also basically can get into trouble basically. That basically different topic basically. That basically we have discussed lots of things basically, and we will discuss in the while discussing the things basically. So like this basically one person told that basically it's not so easy to create the city basically. Really it's not so easy basically. So one of the person told that it's not so easy to create the city basically. For to create the city basically you have to check the temperature of the glacier basically, how many glacier basically are there in this world basically. For example, one person told that total human souls basically exist in the world basically, that glacier also basically has created. So the group basically who are into the human clone creation basically, that basically, sorry, human clone nahi, basically human soul basically, that is atma basically you can say. So the human soul basically which the group basically who are into this creation basically, that group basically uh, check the temperature basically, the temperature basically of the glacier basically, that is the ice basically. They checks the temperature with the nuclear power company before creating any of the single object basically. Any of the single object basically means the objects which you are creating. For example, you are creating building, so that building which is it's going to create from the material basically, that material basically are tested basically. So you don't need to check the building basically, because the material basically are tested. But sometime basically you have to check the entire mixed data also basically, because the temperature basically can increase up to the certain level basically. So like this basically things basically are there. So glaciers basically is directly connecting to the each and every object creation. So total trees in this world basically, that are also basically connected with the glacier basically. So assume that basically there are more than 1 lakh glacier in this world. So that 1 lakh glacier basically is created on the base of earth planet objects basically. So on the base of earth planet objects, the things basically are created. So basically it's not so easy to create the cities also basically. It's very dangerous basically. Not dangerous basically, you can say infinity dangerous basically. So infinity dangerous basically is the stuff basically, and on the base of that basically the creation basically happens. So city creation basically it's not so easy basically. Not so easy means very tough basically. It's very tough basically to create one city creation also basically. So the group basically who are into the city creation basically, that basically are government only basically, because only government can create the thing, and government basically are connected with the World Bank and Health Organization department is also there basically. They connects with the World Health Organization. Monetary group basically, the financial department basically, they connects with the financial department basically. So like this basically each and every departments are also created. They basically connects with each other, and like this basically they creates the cities basically, and that is basically directly connecting to the glacier basically, that is in the format of ice basically, in the ice format basically, that basically is created basically. It's not basically the artificial, it's actually created. So next video basically we are going to see a little bit more about this.